Another CrossFit athlete had a heart attack. 2 weeks ago at the CrossFit semifinal Torian Pro in Australia, Bailey Martin had a heart attack in the first event. Now you could tell because he was like super far behind. I thought he was going to do really good at this competition, and I thought he was actually going to do really good at the games too, but he just looked smashed on the first event. Anyway, a few days later, he posted on his YouTube that he had a heart attack, and that's why he was going super slow, and he had to withdraw from the competition, and now he has to take like a few months off or something like that. What's crazy about this is not even close to the first time over the last few years that someone's had a heart attack at a CrossFit event. So before I get into all the other heart attacks that we've seen, I want to point out two things that I've seen before online. First was Chandler Smith, who posted a screenshot of his Whoop or his Apple Watch that had his average heart rate for the day, and it was like 38, which is super low if you don't know. The second is that Colton Mertens had a autoimmune issue, and he had to go to the hospital a few years ago. When he was in the hospital, he was hooked up to the heart rate monitor, and when he would start to fall asleep, his heart rate would go so low, just naturally, that the monitor would like go off and alert the nurses or whatever. And he said it was going down into the teens, which is why the heart alarm thing was going off. So that's the type of heart we're dealing with in these elite CrossFit guys. Now I'm going to go through and tell you a few of the other heart related issues we've had over the last few years. Bailey Martin this year. Last year, also at the Torian Pro in Australia, also on the first event, we had Zach Thomas, who had some sort of cardiac event. I don't know if it was clarified as a heart attack. I don't know what the difference between a cardiac event and a heart attack is, but he had some sort of cardiac event. If you remember, this is the one where he looked, it was actually almost scary. Like he was like, looked completely out of it. He was like failing rep after rep, or like a pretty light clean and jerk. Later, he announced that he had some sort of cardiac issue during the first event and had to withdraw from the competition. Before that, we had Lazar Jukic, who has seemingly had a few actually. So in 2022 at the Dubai CrossFit Championships, they did a weighted vest walk up all the stairs of the Burj Khalifa, which by the way is a sick event. During it, Lazar had some sort of thing happen where, first of all, he lost terribly compared to what he thought he was going to do. Secondly, he had to like be looked at the medical staff and all this. I've heard it was some sort of cardiac event, but I've also heard that it was nothing. I'm not sure. But when you consider that with what happened at the Capitol as well, which was 2022, the event where they had to carry sandbags up the Capitol steps in Madison, he looked like something was wrong, and he also had to be looked at the medical after that event. So either Lazar was just insane at pushing himself to the point where he would literally break, or he had some sort of things going on in those events. And you can let me know what you think those two were in the comments. And then you also have the one from 2024 where he drowned, even though he's like an elite swimmer. Anyway, so you can tell me what you think about those. But on top of that, confirmed, we had in 2022, Emily Rolfe and a Masters athlete both had blood clots. So Emily Rolfe had a blood clot in her arm during the first event, the biking event. Her arm like turned blue or something like that, and she had to go get a clot removed. And then the other was a Masters athlete who had a blood clot in his brain and had a stroke, and he had to go in and get surgery. So in the last 4 years, there's been 5 things that I can find or think of where someone had some sort of heart-related issue. And there's a few things that's interesting about it. The first is that it always happened on the first event of the weekend or of the competition. I don't know why that is. I don't know what's up with that, but it was always the first event. The second thing that's interesting about it is that not a single one of these athletes was American. Now, Americans make up, I think, like almost half of all the people who participate in these level of competitions, and we haven't had any Americans have some sort of heart or whatever issue. Third thing that's interesting about it is I have not heard of any athletes having a heart issue like this in training. It always happens in competition. Now, I'm sure that if someone had something like this happen in their training, they're probably less likely to want to tell the world than if it happened in competition, but that is just a thing I wanted to note. That's 5 in the last 4 years. I could not find anything about a heart attack, a cardiac event, a blood clot, anything like that from any athlete at all pre-2021. There's hundreds of athletes that have competed at the games, at regionals, probably thousands of athletes have competed at the games, at regionals from 2007 to 2021. I could not find a single one of these types of issues before 2021. I even reached out to people who've been around the games to ask if they could think of anything like this happening, and they said no. So I find it crazy that we had nothing up until 2021, and then now all of a sudden in the last 4 years, we've had at least 5 cardiac or heart issues that have happened. I don't know what's going on, but I would love to know what you think. Why is this happening? These are some of the fittest people on earth. Why are they having heart attacks? And if you can think or know of anything that's happened at the games pre-2021 that's something similar like this, put it in the comments, because I cannot find it anywhere online. It sucks that people are having heart attacks. It's really weird. And let me know what you think in the comments.